Cool.
What is up, risk takers? Welcome to the Kylted strategy. I am Pete. I am a top 10 player playing Risk Global Domination on PC. I have a daily release schedule on YouTube. I do Fixed Fridays every Friday, and I do this show, the Waiting on Your Best Behavior podcast, on Wednesdays. If you are interested in getting better at the game of Risk, I invite you to subscribe to this channel and come along the ride with me. And today, on this episode of the Waiting on Your Best Behavior podcast, I have 3 heavy hitters in this VC with me, and we hope to get a couple more people maybe popping in, giving their thoughts. The topic for today's show is how to fix the ranking system. Welcome Olive, Nick, and Sterling. How's it going, guys?
Hello.
Oh, great.
So, first things first, I would just like to congratulate Olive recently reaching top rank on the leaderboard. Congratulations! Are we going to see? Are we going to see the return of OliveXC #1 now?
It's a great idea. Give me 1 second.
Oh, don't leave this VC, no, because then someone's going to take your spot. All right, I'll save you a spot.
Yeah, you saved me a spot, man. Like this is more important.
Because you are indeed
#1.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, we got Raleigh. We got Hobson Huge. Who is Hobson Huge? Let's find out. And tell me when you're ready, Olive. So, Nick and Sterling, I figure you guys would both have.
I'm not
some ideas.
seeing the game here.
Okay.
I'm going to play with friends. Unless I went to the A8BYH.
I'll open the spot.
Yeah, it says it's full.
Yeah, it is full. That's why I'm opening a spot for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, come on in.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready up.
I will go back to OliveXC after this. This is a little bit arrogant even for me.
Yeah, because you're not truly #1?
Well, because the ladder is broken, which is why we're talking about it.
This is what we're getting into today. So why is the ladder broken, Olive? Explain it to the people.
Well, the ladder is broken for a lot of reasons. I would say, first off, the ladder's broken because of the way that it encourages ranking up on the ladder system. The way that you get to the top of the leaderboard is by taking those new grinding, where you play on a 1v1 map that's a skill-based setting, so something that involves manual setup, fog of war, generally blizzards on a capital or a world domination based map. You find a player that has a very bad record with generally 10 or more hours played and has a very slow fastest win, and then you play that person and you have an extremely high likelihood of winning, 99% or more, and you repeat it hundreds of times until you get to the top of the leaderboard.
That sounds
And it's
tedious.
just a very broken, silly system.
So,
But,
would Nick and Sterling like to chime in? Does that strike you guys as odd that skill would be based on, or ostensibly skill would be based on beating up on bad players, quote unquote?
Well,
Given the current system, it is more profitable to beat lower ranked players just because the way Balance Spirits rounds up odds, if you're, say, 97% chance to beat someone in true random, those odds will be rounding up to 100%, so you'll essentially be making dice rolls, but for the most part, you'll be playing a lot of games with 100% odds, which it's almost a free profit. There'll be the very occasional game with a sniper, or maybe they'll just predict your stack or something, but a lot of the time, if the best players in the world are playing against complete noobs, they will be winning using only 100% dice rolls, which is completely different even to playing a quite average player, in which case you definitely won't be getting 100% rolls. The luck does matter. So there's a big difference between playing games where you're going to be using 100% rolls only versus playing games where an unlucky curveball or a bad roll might make you lose. So it's kind of an unfair jump between if you play a noob, you'll win with almost certainty versus if you play someone normal, luck matters a lot.
So if it is a measure of skill in any regard, it is a measure of a very specific, limited skill. Yes?
It is absolutely a skill. I mean, the way that it is like to get to the top, it's a continuous grind. You're playing like hours upon hours. You have to constantly be alert. You have to be awake. You need to always be wary about who you're facing in, and not just letting your guard down and letting in like an expert or a master who has like a 5% chance of beating you. You need to always be wary of like a sniper's, like the constant pressure of knowing that anytime you fail and you're at the top of the ladder, you're gonna have like 10 people IM you asking why you lost. It is.
Yeah, it's not easy playing.
It's hard to
in
do
my
it.
case, I need
it's not fun.
50 wins to make up for a loss, and yours is even more, isn't it? It's closer to 70.
Yeah, it's about I get about 2,000 skill points. That's basically every time you get a win, you get like a skill point that determines your rating and your rank on the ladder. So I lose about 160,000. So it takes me about 75 to 78 games to make up for like one loss, which takes, given an average, about 15 minutes to find a player, and beat the player. That is, I don't know, about 18 hours of my life every time I lose a game, which is just silly and boring. It's not fun. And that's a key point that I think it's important to mention, Pete, about the current ladder system. System encourages you to face the worst players at any given time. And this is because the system basically discourages you wanting to play the best people.
It's an incentive
because if you're at the top of the leaderboard and you face a grandmaster,
it's under rewarded, isn't it? Like if I were to play a base GM and get 8,000 rank points for beating them, it's not very different to if I was to play a novice and get 2,000 rank points to beat them, especially when you consider that the chance of the novice winning is near zero. Whereas, like any grandmaster, like they could get really good cards, they could get really good slow rolls. Like there's a lot of things that could happen.
Nick, what do you think?
I look at it in a bit of a metaphorical way, but you know how in boxing people, like, you have to face opponents of a certain level to start getting your own rank put up. The system we have is basically, we have professional boxers beating up children, which is not fun for them, and it doesn't show that they're good at boxing at all. It just shows that, oh look, I can punch a child. This is so easy. And they don't deserve to be put up for that, but for some reason they are. That's just how the system is right now, and that's why it's fundamentally broken.
That is a great metaphor. So how do we... This segues nicely. There are some obvious flaws. We can dig into it, till the cows come home. But how do we fix it?
There's a number of ways to do this.
Well, what do you got for us, Nick?
Well, I have played many different games of the years, competitively and not. Seen many different ranking systems online. The system that we have currently is the ELO system. It's very similar to how chess is, but the scaling's different. But it lacks a fundamental difference from chess, which makes chess's ranking system so nice. In chess, if you are a certain gap in rating between yourself and your opponent and you win, you don't gain rating points. You don't gain anything. But if you lose a lot of rating points. Like there is a limit to how much lower than you somebody can be that you beat will actually benefit your rating.
So at some point you just stop ranking up against lower ranked players.
Yes, and then
so there's zero incentive to play them.
Yes, your only incentive is to play players of equal level.
Can I give you a criticism at that point, though? So what is? I think Sterling gave us a stat. Something like 8% of the population of active players is intermediate or up. Is that right, Sterling?
Yeah, that sounds about right. There's 100,000 intermediates, 1.4 million monthly active players.
So at some point I can't play ranked or what?
This is no different from how chess scaling is.
Gotcha.
It gets increasingly narrow towards the top.
Okay.
The way chess rating works is like the B-Day ELO system. The top players in the world are 2800s. Magnus Carlsen, the best player in the world, undisputed best player in the world because of the system has repeatedly reported that. He's around 2850 right now. If he loses a single game, he loses a good 10 rating points, and he only gains like 3 or 4 for each win. But nobody contests the system because everybody knows he is the best chess player in the world. It is undeniable. And everyone below accepts their rank because they know the system is fair to them. Because the way chess ELO works is it's based off of you have a rating, your opponent has a rating. Based on your rating, there is a % chance that you have to beat them. And if you do beat them, the amount of points that you gain is based off of that percentage. So obviously,
That's
as your
how
rating
risk
goes,
works as well.
yes, this is just how ELO systems work. It's very, very effective. Technically, there is no limit to how high rating can go because we have chess engines that reach like 3,400, 3,500. Like, they're way beyond players. And we understand that. And the rating system is still accurate, despite there being a much more limited supply of things to play against.
Yeah, I think
Even
the big difference between chess and risk is that chess doesn't have dice rolls and risk does, so it takes a long time to average out the luck if you're playing similar players in risk compared to in chess. So, for example, if you look at the World Tournament Championship in poker, it takes them 5 days to play the final game. And the ELO on that is actually not so far off the ELO in chess that the world champions can do in 90 minutes. So, like, if you played enough risk games against someone and counted up the scores, the winner would be most likely the player who's better. But the problem is, you need a lot of games to get a definitive answer in a way that with chess, you can quite quickly work out who the better player is by who wins.
And I would say that I've noticed that to be true anecdotally, right? But is that a problem? Is it a problem that maybe your true, quote, skill in risk takes a while to be shown?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a challenge for any ranking system, especially if people are playing casually and they don't have endless time to play, that we are going to need quite big sample sizes to definitively decide who is actually at the top. Like, there's no super quick way of proving which Grandmaster is the best without playing quite a lot of games.
And in today's world, we need constant feedback and constant reward. Otherwise, people lose their attention and they go do something else.
Well, the reward is the fact of being number one player in the first place. And I gotta say, for chess, it's not as fast as you make it out to be. Not even close. The players at the top have played tens of thousands of chess games in rated matches to get to the point where they are. Just because that their rating can change between each other fairly quickly doesn't mean that it's not like representative of a very large quantity.
Yeah, it takes a long time, but like statistically, to get to an ELO level that you can reach in a 90-minute chess game, you would need to play like 24 hours plus of risk to reach a comparable level of certainty that the better player would win. So however long it takes for chess to prove who's the best, risk is intrinsically going to take longer because of the dice rolls and the cards, like placements, turn orders. Like, there is a lot of luck in risk, so you do need to play a lot of games to actually get any definitive results. I think that's one of my biggest concerns I found with how players interpret results from tournaments. They'll see someone win like one game in a final, and then they'll be like, oh, they must be the best player ever.
Yeah.
But the reality is, like, you don't know from one game. It does take more than that to get any solid answers. The biggest answer is, honestly, we don't know.
You can just get lucky. You can get lucky for an entire tournament and win, And it's like
7 games isn't a lot. Like, even 1v1 tournament where it's 5 games per round, so like over the course of the whole thing, like some of them are later, but you've probably played about 80 games. But even that's not a lot. Like, there was people saying that they'd have liked to see the 15-game final be a lot more games because it still looked like the dice were mattering. So ideally, you do need a lot of games.
Yeah. And
Like, the best Risk players don't just beat the other players they play. They all they do is win more often. There's no guarantees.
They play 1v1s because it's not only the safest way, it's the fastest way.
It is a lot faster, isn't it? Like, if I was against someone easy on USA, I could win in 2 minutes, and even against someone good, it's generally 1 in 5. Whereas, like, it's not even considered a long game to play for 20, 30 minutes in free for all. Like, there's people who play several hours, especially for caps and stuff. And if you want to get thousands of those ranked games in, it's definitely not quick.
Well, there's also no issue with high-level players just 1v1ing each other. At the end of the day, the game will always be random. That is not something that can be fixed. That is built into the nature of Risk. And time is one thing, but the biggest problem with the system is that it preys too easily on lower players.
There's a lot of individual problems. I mean, think about it. Like, Risk is a beautiful game. Like, there's so many different ways that you can play it, right? You can play like a fixed multiplayer, prog multiplayer. You can play with zombies. You can like do 1v1s. Unofficially, like, people have like 2v2s that are played, but the only way that you can successfully get to the top of the leaderboard is one way only, and that is to only do 1v1s. And if you're the best in the world, to get to the top 100 doing that, maybe even top 50, but to get to the absolute top, like the top like 10, 15, 20 spots, you can only do that through noob grinding. And that's what sucks about it. Like, at the end of the day, there's so many ways to play the game, you can only play it one way.
I think it would be good, and a lot of people have suggested this, to have a separate leaderboard for free-for-all and 1v1, because they are intrinsically different. With free-for-all, whether you're playing like 3-player, 4-player, 5-player, 6-player, and like whatever mode, you always face the risk that another player will make a mistake, and that mistake could make you lose. So, for example, you could be playing a progressive game, all of a sudden someone decides they want to kill you for no reason. They realise they've not got enough fruit.
Yeah, like
Maybe
kind of what
not
Raleigh's
enough
doing to
fruits
Pete
have
right
any
now.
chance of it. What's that?
Kind of like what Raleigh's doing to Pete right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if for no reason whatsoever someone just thinks, oh, I fancy attacking red now, it doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad player, but just like people don't always do things for a reason. So like, I've even seen games where on the first turn the novice just decides that they just want to suicide all their troops, and like whoever takes that hit, it's going to damage their pristine win rate. So the danger of suicides will make 1v1s more risky than free-for-all, and it's just inevitable. And the same with collaboration. Like, there's always going to be some level of collaboration, no matter how strict rules are. And if you've got collaborators joining the game, like, you are at a disadvantage compared to 1v1s where collaboration isn't possible. Plus, the games are slower, so I do think 1v1s and free-for-all aren't very comparable on a leaderboard together.
But now, we gotta remember, right? Like, the game was not designed to be a 1v1. Like, the top players in the community made it a legitimate game mode. Now, disproportionately in the Discord, the majority of people are top 1v1 players. The majority of people in the community are free-for-all players. So, to a developer who sees the game as like a 1v1 player, and many of like the very common like Risk players just see it like as a a fun like game, how can you like justify and say let's make 1v1 a legitimate game mode when it's the top players in the community that are basically saying this is what like the ladder like needs to be? Because we have to think from like SMG's perspective.
It's not even unique to this Risk game. Like, there are plenty of other versions of Risk where 1v1 has become quite prominent in the ranking system, just because that is naturally what works effectively for rank.
it's the least random.
Yeah, I think you need a bit of both, don't you? Like normal players.
Oh,
72%.
That's why I saved it. I saved you, Pete.
Yeah, for yourself. You
No, you go next.
You saved me.
You have your
by
set now.
5. Yeah, I get my set.
saved
but
you.
I still get fucking eaten. I don't know why Raleigh did Raleigh hit me just because I chirped him with the yawn. I wonder why he hit me. All right, so
It's definitely like 1v1's not some like niche new thing that's specific to this version of Risk. It's been present in like many other versions of Risk before this one, and it kind of naturally occurs as a competitive mode because free-for-all games are always going to be prone to kind of the whims of what other people are doing. So if you want to play competitively, it's just going to be a much more consistent environment if you are playing against one person and testing your skill against theirs rather than having a bit of a play about. But I think it's good, since there is a lot of skill to free-for-all as well, those players should get a chance on the leaderboard by separating them out.
I think that's like the fair point, like why it kind of needs to happen. But now, next thing, let's let you separate this out, right? Something I've been reading, because on the Discord right now, if you get involved, there's actually like Lucy, kind of like the customer service person. She basically created a new channel where people can talk about their ideas. Some people are thinking about let's have as many leaderboards as possible, like for zombies, like fixed, progressive. What are your thoughts on expanding to as many types of leaderboards as possible?
I mean, intrinsically, there's nothing wrong with the idea. Like, if the devs have time to make that would actually be cool, because I think, unlike a lot of games, Risk does have some very different modes that are almost completely incomparable to each other. So it would be good to be making a fair test comparison between people actually playing the same things rather than comparing completely different games in the same place.
Yeah.
But it basically comes down to like how much time they have to make some of this stuff. Like, although it would be cool to have 10 different leaderboards, beyond having a 1v1 and a free-for-all, I don't think the rest are priorities.
I don't understand how this guy could have fucked up a kill like that.
I feel great about it. I don't know what you're saying.
Did he even consider what he was doing?
No, I think he just didn't like you.
sure wish I got to play this game.
Yeah, it would have been nice, Pete.
Yeah.
Sterling, I do want to go back to the point you made where there's always the matter of time being an issue. Like some people having more time to play than others. It's inherent. Remember how I said chess elo prevents you from preying on players who are too low?
Yeah.
That means that the people that you're going to be ranking against, regardless of whether or not the amount of time they have is similar to yours, you're still going to have to play against them. So it's still equal opportunity to rank up, because you have to play those people. And eventually you run out of people to play if you're just being overly active. It doesn't benefit you to be more active. It benefits you to be better than the other people at your level.
So I used to listen to a podcast from the lead designer of Magic, and I listened to this religiously. He had like 2 or 3 shows a week, something like that, and this man is absolutely brilliant. And one thing he keeps hammering the point home to the audience.
Oh my gosh, you kidding me?
Yeah. The point he keeps hammering home is, your players are going to do whatever your game incentivizes them to do, whether or not that thing is fun. So at some point, the rankings we would like the ranking system to incentivize fun. Now, fun is a nebulous concept, and it's different for different people. But if the ranking system produces a structure like what Olive is talking about, where the correct decision is more or less to noob grind, which is boring, and I can attest to that. We at some point we have to ask ourselves what we're doing, and can we design it in a better way? And that's kind of what we're here having the conversation about.
I think part of it is like variety is the spice of life, and people like to play and try out different maps and settings on Risk, but the ranking system really only encourages you to play what you're best at. So it's very hard to step out of your comfort zone when it's very much rewarding you for only playing one setting. So I think it would be nice if there was a little bit more separation, so you could at least play 2 different modes and get valid reward for it. I think XP particularly is an area where the devs are looking into expanding. Like they specifically said in their doc that they want an XP system. So having rank relatively simple and focusing on who wins the most, but also having XP to focus on rewarding people who play more and people who play more variety would make it a lot more exciting for players who play regularly, especially the ones who don't want a noob grind and focus just on rank.
You don't have to just separate the systems between game modes to promote variety. You can also create an aggregate score system that benefits multiple game modes. Like you scale out how much you can gain from playing one game mode too much, and it benefits you to play other ones, or other ones provide more intrinsically. Like if you balance it out better.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting if you actually read the doc. At no point does it say we want a ranking system that identifies the best players. Instead, it actually says we want an XP system which focuses on rewarding the most active players. Players who play a variety of settings and encourages people to use the purchases they've bought from SMG.
Well, I feel like Olive had a very insightful thought on that note.
1 second, I need to kill this guy. He
All right.
annoyed me.
Get him. Yeah, I did read through the doc. I feel like I had to pay at least that much courtesy, but why can't we have both? Why can't we have something closer to an objective measure of skill? Is that too much to ask for?
Yeah, I think we want a simple rank system to measure skill, and at the same time we want a more fancy and cool looking XP system that makes people feel better about themselves.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that.
That's the
just
problem
sounds like
with rank, isn't
the
it? It's
League of
not,
Legends rank system.
apart from the handful of people right at the top of the leaderboard, for like most regular players, rank isn't very flattering. There's a lot of players who've got 500 hours plus and are still beginner, and it's not exactly nice, is it? For the game to call you that after all of that being put in.
Yeah, but if it's true, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, the word beginner suggests that you're only just starting out, doesn't it? So it's not, although you may be, I don't know, 600,000th in the world, you're still not necessarily a beginner, are you? You might actually be quite experienced.
Well, so the
Not
thing
everyone can be at the top.
the thing about that is, though, Sterling, you want to be flattering or unflattering. What would you say if not beginner? Where would you go with that one?
That's the thing, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
there's not many words that mean someone's bad at something that are flattering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now that the game is over, I do have an idea about this. So when you look at some of the different games that they're kind of like reward playing, like what they tend to do and the goal is like play to win, right? So we got to remember that the way that the game gives like money and currency is through gems. And currently the only way you get gems is through logging on like once a day and clicking on a box to get 2 gems for participation, or you can purchase gems in order to get cosmetics and maps, because the game does not want to be pay to win. Now, the idea that I had was maybe you can give people gems for participating instead of giving like pointless XP. So maybe every time you get a win in a game, you gain like 1 gem. Maybe if you win like and if you play 5 games in a row, you get like 1 gem. So that way, even if you're losing a lot, you're still able to get gems for participation. Obiwan, a member of the community, had the idea of creating challenges where maybe it's like defeat 2 players in 1 game and you gain like some additional gems, or win a game in Fog of War, or win a game on Map of the Week, to encourage people to play multiple game type modes in order to get like these like gems. Because
they actually
players are
did
getting.
say in the doc that they'd like milestones of XP to be rewarded. So, if, for example, they did have, if you had different skills, like there was a fog of war skill, or I don't know, a fixed skill, and then when you win games in fog of war, you earn more XP and level up on fog of war. Then you could have, for example, you get to level 10 fog of war, and then it's like, oh yeah, you've reached a milestone. Here, have some gems, and that would be a very nice way of celebrating it.
Can I
I
speak to
think
this?
also having a combined total level, if you did have different XP skills, would be a nice way of acknowledging players who've played a lot but aren't necessarily that good. So, for example, someone who's a beginner because they suicide for Australia a lot still might have played 500 plus risk games. So it would be nice if they had unlocked enough XP levels to be like, oh, at least I'm a level 50. Like, so they could be a level 50 beginner, feel good about the fact that they've played a lot without necessarily needing to be one of the best players.
Yeah, and maybe like every time after you play a game, what you can do to have come up is like you can have like a progression bar, right? So like you're this
that'd
many
be great.
games from like level 47 to 48, so people actually get to see the benefit of playing the game, and that way XP feels meaningful to them rather than like a pointless number.
Yeah, and I think it'd be good if you had. I mapped it out and made an image for it, but if you had a range of skills, so for example, there could be a 1v1 skill, 3 to 4 player FFA skill, 5 to 6 FFA, World Dom, Caps, Zombies, Progressive, Play Friends, Offline Mode, Classic, Non-Classic. You could have a range of those skills, and then you could even be training multiple skills in the same game. So, like, if you'd won a Caps game, but it was also 1v1, you'd be leveling up your 1v1 level, but at the same time leveling up your Caps. And maybe even your balance split skill as well. So players could definitely, without needing to be the best in the world, feel good about themselves when they've made some decent progress over time.
Everything you have mentioned already exists in multiple games that I have played. Probably
Yeah,
the biggest
exactly.
one is
I
League
think-
of Legends.
Yeah, exactly. Most games do have
Olive,
some
where'd you
solid
go?
skill levels in different things, and I think there's a reason why it's popular, and that's because it's effective. People do enjoy it.
Olive, where'd you
Quest
go, buddy?
systems-
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm here. Someone's at my door. I'm back. I'm coming back.
Okay, I'll open up the spot when you're ready.
Quest
Another
systems
point-
will always incentivize play by players, but we need to remind ourselves that
I'm
there's
ready to
still a
join.
number of people who want to
Okay.
be able to rank and be rewarded for that. Incentivizing play is not hard. You can add a level system, you can add quests to play different game modes like that. That's super simple. That's been done in every single multiplayer game in the past decade.
Risk doesn't
Making
have
a
it, so I
rank
feel like
system?
that's a place Risk could start, especially when SMG said that's what they're looking for.
But yes, they could do that easily. There's so many games that they could get inspiration from. Clash Royale's another mobile game they could get it from. Like League, as I've stated, it's about any shooter that's existed in the past decade that's multiplayer online has quests that they can go for.
So which skills
goes
do
on.
you think, if Risk was going to have a list of skills that you could level up by winning some games on those, what skills do you think will be core good skills to have on the list?
Players killed per game, different game modes played, a certain threshold for how many troops killed versus troops lost. These are three basic ones. Number
Yeah.
of capitals that you've held per average throughout the game per turn. For capitals specifically. Number of zombies killed in a zombies game.
Yeah, those would be cool. The other thing I think which Risk lacks is that a lot of more kind of gamified games will focus on you start the game and you'll be earning relatively little when you start playing. But as you start to play more and you get more powerful and you get better at the game, each hour you'll be earning more per hour than you were when you were a new player. But in Risk it's kind of the opposite. Like by the time you reach a high rank, like nothing exciting's happening, whereas when you first started playing, like loads of cool things were happening to your rank. Like you're really jumping a lot every time you played, whereas by the end you can play 100 games and nothing interesting happened. So I think it would be good for XP to be a little bit more rewarding gradually as you got more high level in the game.
If you're being higher level players, you should be able to get more XP, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's intrinsic to skill points that higher level players against the same opponent need to earn fewer skill points. Otherwise, it would just become exponential and it wouldn't quite add up. Whereas if you had XP so that everyone for the same win, regardless of their own rank, would earn the same XP, it would be great for players because, like, if you're high level, if you play a game with other Grandmasters, you're like, oh, this is great, you know, I'm winning some of these, I'm getting all this XP, I can feel good about this now. Whereas to play against other Grandmasters for rank, the whole time you're just like, oh, I'm going to lose rank for this is annoying. And it doesn't feel worthwhile.
Yeah, if that's the goal of progression, then that's the goal, like to get people like to want to play with each other, then that will do that. Now, there's another idea out there, and this has been kind of like popular among a lot of people, and this is like a completely different idea, and that is that should people of different ranks be able like to play together like on ladder, or should people only be of like a similar rank? So should like grandmasters only be able to play like masters and experts? Shouldn't like novices only allowed to be like beginners and intermediates? Like that's a very common idea, like in the Discord.
I feel like grandmasters shouldn't play novice to beginner, but there's like it's seriously hard actually getting a master or grandmaster in your lobby for anything other than 1v1. Like you just end up waiting around a lot. Like has anyone here played a large number of like grandmaster plus free-for-all lobbies in global?
No, it takes forever. It's almost impossible to find enough people to get a free-for-all master or grandmaster up to fire.
Yeah, like I've tried it before tourneys to practice as well. It's just there's just not enough people of that level online at the same time.
Yeah.
So you do need a certain level of leeway to say like, oh right, an intermediate's maybe not the perfect opponent, but they're loads better than a novice, so maybe that is an acceptable substitute as someone that I could play to the game for a long time.
So what I'm getting at is that so for free for all, it does not make sense to have the progression, basically play people of similar rank because it's just it's too hard to get a lobby going. Now, what about if we had separated 1v1s and free for all? Should just 1v1s only allow people of similar rank to play with each other?
Yeah, I feel like that could work because with 1v1s it's a bit different. I think a big part of the reason in 1v1 that you can't get a Grandmaster to join your lobby a lot of the time is because they're too busy hosting their own lobby looking for noobs. And it's like this kind of double-edged problem of like, you don't want to host for Grandmasters because they don't join, but they also don't want to host because nobody joins their game. Whereas if you sort of took away the easy option of just playing with noobs, then it would allow people to actually play each other. And there's like, while there's fewer Grandmasters, they are very active compared to others. So like, there generally are quite a few Grandmasters online if they are willing to play each other.
Yeah, that's fair, and it's tough to actually know statistically how true that is, right? I bet you would know better than anyone, eh, Sterling? How active they are versus...
Well, I mean, just like off the top of my head, if I'm looking for some Grandmaster 1v1 lobbies, there's usually about 4 online at a time. If I'm looking for just like standard kind of like newbie kind of auto-matchy style settings on classic free-for-all, there'll be about 50 lobbies at a time. So, like, there's more of those, but not a million times more in the same way there is, like, so many more novices overall. And, it like, if at the moment there's 4 Grandmasters open to hosting 1v1s, if it was more explored and more emphasized, I feel like it could be more than that as well. I think a lot of Grandmasters get to Grandmaster, then just sort of like stop playing. If you look, I ran a regression looking at the leaderboard once, and you sort of see that there's a really big lump of people who have just enough like skill points to be a Grandmaster and no more than that. Because a lot of people get to Grandmaster, then they're like, oh, I've completed Risk, no need to play anymore now. So I think by making Grandmaster versus Grandmaster more of a thing, it would reduce that problem.
I actually know of a ranking system that kind of solves the issue of having people of different ranks being able to play with each other without having the system stagnate and without having it be unfair. And it's actually from League of Legends Wild Rift, which I play. The system pairs people against their rank secondary to their MMR rating, which is given based on their recent win rate or how they've been performing in games. The system works really well because you don't get more points for beating people who are higher than you. You win based off of how you've been doing overall recently. You have to keep a streak going to get further. And it also does something that SMG has stated that they wanted. They want to encourage activity with whatever system they implement. The system in Wild Rift actually makes it so that your points decay if you spend too long without playing the game. Which obviously encourages people to be more active in the game.
So
Yeah.
I also felt like Sterling had a idea on Decay, which I thought was savvy, as opposed to having a skill point bleed. What exactly did you call it, Sterling? A ghost rank?
Yeah, it was a shadow rank. So if you just want to be like, if you don't need other people to see you on the leaderboard and you just want to know how you're doing, if you've not played within 7 days, an actual ranked game, single player shouldn't count towards this. Like, you can have to play a ranked game and actually risk your rank to stay up for the next 7 days on the leaderboard. Other people can see you, and you're filling up a space. Like, if someone's rank 4, you're knocking everyone who's 5th plus down by 1 spot on the leaderboard. So you're actually kind of consuming the space, and that should only be done by people who are actually like playing that week and are active. Whereas other people who are just like, oh, I wonder how my account's doing at the moment, without wanting to play a ranked game, should be able to just click on it, see in grey that they have a shadow rank of, I don't know, say 280, without the need to be on the leaderboard blocking out other people. Because it can be, I think the reason a lot of people play a single player game just to jump back onto the leaderboard and clutter the whole thing again, even on their out, like after leaderboard resets, is that they're just curious how it's doing and they want to check. And when it says 0, the first thing someone's going to do is think, oh, I'll just play a game to get back on. Whereas you kind of remove that problem by having a shadow rank there.
I liked it. I thought it was a great idea. And I think a lot of people would have a problem with some kind of skill point bleed as a feel bad. I always prefer positive incentives over negative.
Yeah. It would also be useful in the sense that no one would bother having like 4 high level alt accounts that they constantly, like every week, keep playing these ranked games on. In a way that, like, if it's like every few months, people at some point do log into the account again, and it's not that hard to just play a single player game. So like you end up with a lot of second accounts, third accounts high up on the leaderboard.
Well, I should note that the bleed you only have to play 2 games a week at best to keep your account stable in League, and it's only for top level players, the people who are active in the first place. Like the people who are most active, it makes it so that people actually stay active at that level, and it doesn't punish lower level players for not wanting to play that way in the first place.
We have Buck with us. Hey Buck, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, Pete.
You got something to say about the ranking system?
I do actually, because before Hans left, I actually was talking to him quite a bit in relation to how the potential for auto match and other things was going to work. Do you remember when we were looking into this?
Absolutely.
Where the auto match was only going to be selected auto match for playing people of similar rank, etc., etc. And one of the things that was mentioned is, how are you going to get grandmasters, masters, experts, etc. to play against each other when you have 3 to 5 million accounts, but you only have 30,000 accounts that are actually qualified of any experience or this, that, and the other? So trying to allow people, or 6 people at any given time throughout anywhere other than the American time zones, was almost impossible to fill like a Grandmaster game, which basically was leaving everybody else in the world behind.
And yet, I play games with smaller pools and 10 people in the lobby that can manage to do that just fine.
Why do you think that is?
Look at you got to look at the player database of where they're located. The United States has the vast majority of players due to just culture and the way that Risk works politically, etc. So it's It's a game that's naturally prone to be popular in the U.S. and not so much popular in other countries. And this was something that was brought up, and I just sit here and I think about it, and there's a lot of realism in what he was saying. So, but that said, I don't necessarily think that the only play players of similar rank as a game mode should be mandated. What I do think is that the ranking system, the way that the skill points are awarded for winning and losing against multiple ranks, needs to be altered. I think it needs to be brought into a situation where if a grandmaster beats another grandmaster, he should be rewarded more than if he beats a novice or an expert or a master. But when a grandmaster beats another grandmaster, we get like fuck all. We get more points in a free-for-all game by beating a beginner or an intermediate, or not necessarily more points, but we get more reward because it's an easier win. So the risk versus reward is much more beneficial.
An interesting point was made for speedruns that if you were to beat if you made a brand new account and beat the number one ranked player, you'd gain around 158,000 skill points. Whereas instead of beating the number one ranked player, which is the hardest player to beat and basically impossible, if instead you played 2 new novices, you'd get 80,000 for each of them on that account. And that would result in you getting 160,000. So you get more for 2 novices than you would for beating the top player in the world.
I think that's what needs to be edited. I think it needs to be broken so that way you beat a novice, you get fuck all.
Yeah, I mean, in no world is it harder to beat 2 new novices than it is to beat the best player in the world.
Well, unless you're playing against snipers.
I mean, even if there are some snipers, there's a lot of real novices out there as well.
I think Major is going to join us as well.
What we need to do, Sterling, and I'm sure you and I have discussed it in the past, is we need to find a way of maintaining and upskilling the novice players. We need to encourage them to come along, and the 2 biggest complaints is cheating and disconnects. I think if we solve the disconnects, we're going to resolve probably 50% of the player dropout rate.
Yeah, it would make a massive difference.
Because
there was a recent survey on Reddit that was asking how often does the game disconnect you from Risk when your internet's fine, and fewer than 10% of answerers said that they never experience a disconnect when their internet's fine. So it's
and here I am experiencing disconnects in 80% of games, whether I'm Wi-Fi or mobile with full strength signal.
Yeah, I definitely find that if I'm at home on Wi-Fi and I'm the host, I never really disconnect. Like there was one I think where the server did have an outage and it kicked me and all of the other players at the same time. But in general, if I'm the host, it's all right. But if I'm not the host, like basically anything can happen.
I do find if I host a game, I have less disconnects.
Yeah.
There was a week where I was playing top players in play with friends mode, and in the entirety of the week, I think I played 11 games, and of those 11 games, I completed 1, and that was because Harmless took me out in like turn 10.
Wow, that's annoying.
Yeah, and none of the other games did I complete, not one.
Yeah, well, the first response, almost 5 of the first few messages when the devs introduced that new channel to ask how to improve the match ranking system were players saying fix the bots, and everyone was like, fix the bots, what's that got to do with the rank? But actually I think like it does matter. Like disconnects and bots are part of ranking.
Well, in all honesty, I think the bots are fine because the novices, beginners, and intermediates need a challenge. and the vast majority of bots are of that level. Once you get into master and grandmaster, and somewhat into expert, you're already aware of how to manipulate the bots. You don't learn
Pete,
that.
do you really think I'm gonna let you do that?
What's that?
I'm talking to Pete. Doing this shit in the game.
Just take it easy, Nick. Just take it easy.
I know what you're looking to do.
Just calm yourself, sir. Buck was
I
talking.
what needs to happen is that if you're a grandmaster hosting the game, you should not be allowed to put a bot in a game until after the lobby's been up for like 2 minutes. And until they fix capitals, and the way that the bots of the AI work in capitals and don't hold or reinforce their capital, I think that there should be no bots in a caps game.
Yeah.
It would not be hard for them to regulate a new parameter in the AI that's suitable for caps. That says a bot will fortify, 75% of its troops on a cap.
Well, already some bots do, which is the frustrating part. It's not even the difficulty, it's like the personality, but sometimes you'll get a bot that is quite stacky and it'll put stuff on the caps, but then at other times you'll get bots that aren't so much about stacks and they're more continental and they don't place on the caps, and it's like, if some of the bots can do it, why aren't they all doing it? Like, why is there any sort of bot that at expert difficulty is leaving one troop on its cap, like, all the time?
Oh, P, no set at 4. You could have killed me right there.
I know. I was also thinking about trying to kill multiple people, but here we are. I guess
I wasn't even thinking about what to do because I thought I was just going to die there.
I guess I die.
I think one of the most common denominators is that the ranking system needs to be updated to not reward grandmasters for noob farming.
Yeah, that seems like a big point. So how about my thing that I've been working on, the idea about the camouflage mode? Where do you guys stand on that?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, so right now you look at a lobby and you get a bunch of stats. What used to be, you used to get a name, you used to get a rank, and you used to get a country. Now we don't get a rank, but we get a name, we get a country, we get a color, and we get a whole bunch of stats. So
I don't think it's like, I think the last thing we need is more ways. Oh, I don't have a trade.
Yeah, the last thing we need is
that's
more,
the best thing
data.
that's ever happened to noob farming.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Major, how are you, man?
Good.
Welcome. So, the ranking system is fucked, huh? Another top player with us. What are we gonna do about it?
No, those stats are the best thing that's ever happened to noob farming.
Right.
No, but I'd love the combo of the two ideas, like that Nick said about SP bleed for non-participation, and Buck's point about we can't be rewarding any points whatsoever, any SP whatsoever for a grandmaster, or let's just say whatever your rank is. If you play someone 2 ranks below you, you shouldn't get anything, let's say. But if you play someone above you, you'll always get. So, that means like when I reach master, forget about grandmaster. If I get to master, I can't play against a noob. I mean, a novice or a beginner. I got to play against intermediates and experts to get anything. So I would love the combo of both of those. But what they'll have to do, if anything like that ever came into fruition, is they have to reset all SP period, because if they have let's say we carried forward our SP into whatever system is in the future, there's still just this massive mountain to climb that is really insurmountable for a lot of people.
But it could even be impossible, couldn't it? Like, if there were certain added rules that made it harder to rank up.
What?
It may never be able
Speed
to
actually going to survive here?
Yeah, surprising.
Well, I'll tell you what I learned about the skill points and the way that the leaderboard works. And this is opinion to some degree, but it's also factual. Is that the way that the current ranking system works? It's not necessarily rewarding skill as much as it is rewarding game time played. Because I can tell you now, if I had the same amount of time to sit there in 1v1 and grind that Spike or Zeraki or Major or any of those other people, I'd be at the top of the leaderboard without question. But I don't have the time to invest 100 games a day and things like that.
I think skill's also a prerequisite, but skill's not the only thing that matters.
No, it's the sheer number of games played is how people are up there in 7 million skill points.
Well,
But they also
the amount
played
of time
those
you
games
invest
well.
into something will always be a factor. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Doesn't matter if it's a
Yes.
game or not. People who invest more time will usually get rewarded for doing so.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that. But that's the biggest reward at the moment. It's not a reward of, once you hit sort of top 100, the amount or your skill is almost irrelevant. It's purely simply the amount of gameplay. And this is why
I don't know. I feel like when you actually play top 10s in a tournament, a lot of them are very good, even compared to normal top 100s. Like, there is still a skill gap at the highest level. Like, for example, if you look at 1v1 tournament, I ran an analysis that suggested if the ELO rankings of players are correct, there's an 80% chance that one of the players who's been number one on the leaderboard will win this tournament. And at the end of that tournament, 2 of the top 3 players had been number one before, which very much backs up my idea that there's an 80% chance that one of them will hit the top. And then, yeah, Tank won. He has been number one. So I do think there is a statistical and just observable difference in skill between top players and quite good players, especially in 1v1.
I agree with that. In like the 5-a-side attitude and the 1v1 tournaments and things like that. But when it comes to the way that the leaderboard is set up and rewarding and dealing with rank handout, I don't agree with it. I do agree that this is one of the reasons why I'm hated, is because I consider the top 100 players equals. And so many people don't agree with that. And it's like, well, how many fake top 100 players have we got where they are only really good at their one setting? Dana, for example, is a perfect example. Only plays one setting, is really high up there. And, would he be a top player in anything other than his own settings that he hosts in the leaderboard in his grind? I highly, highly doubt it. There's a lot of the existing leaderboard rewards consistency in the wrong areas. So I do agree that a variety of maps, game modes, etc., what you play on should be awarded an average of statistics, so that way you are your leaderboard position overall is more indicative of your ability to play. Say, for example, you can be the best caps player in the world, but can you hold your own in World Dom? I'm a perfect I can hold my own in every setting except zombies. I suck at zombies. So my overall gameplay and style of gameplay doesn't put me in any better than anybody that can play zombies, because those zombie players will kick my ass every day in, day out. But a lot of those zombie players can't play caps to save their lives.
Yeah, it's definitely way harder being able to play all maps and settings well than just one map and setting well.
Yeah, And I think the leaderboard should be indicative of that.
Yeah, that might be harder from a programming perspective. And
Not
also,
impossible.
I just think like man, it's been so hard for SMG just to make simple changes. That would be a pretty big one.
I mean, if you look at their online leaderboards, they've got lots of leaderboards already. Like, they have leaderboards for the most random, obscure stats. And they don't put them in the game because they don't really matter, but, like, they're capable of making a lot of leaderboards when they want them. They have, like, leaderboards for, like, how many cards you've traded. But, like, just all sorts of stuff like that. So, like, I don't think they struggle to make a quantity of leaderboards. The question is more about quality.
Yes, I agree with that. We also have to consider that SMG, being a small indie company that's focused on expansion and growth, it just doesn't have the time to put into improving something that is already making 80% or 60% or something like that of their income. It's already proving to be rewarding as is. There's no incentive for them to change it except from us top players. And us top players, honestly, we represent such a small minority group that we don't matter. You know, they've got 3 million players. We're 100 out of 3 million.
Buck, did you read the statement that SMG put out for what they want to see changed for the system?
No.
In the server? Basically, they said they want to reward activity above all. They don't care too much about having a proper rating system.
Hey, Buck,
Really, Peter, make me play this next
I'll go
map
ahead
on
now,
my
guys.
phone?
See you.
are you playing? Buck, are you playing a game?
No, I've got to go to work. I'm just sitting on the side of the road having a smoke at the moment before I get to my next.
I was going to say we got a pretty stacked 6-person VC here. If you were interested.
No, I got to go to work. I only got another minute or two
Fair
before
enough.
I got to go.
I'll go ahead now as well. See you around, guys.
Thank you, Sterling.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
so much for
Appreciate
the
it, man.
commentary.
Yeah, I really do. Thank you, buddy.
You too.
Okay.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
Hey, didn't you say that I would get to pick the settings at least once?
I mean, okay, but not this game because we already have 4 people in the lobby.
Temple World Zombies!
You know what we're playing right now.
Yeah, and I really don't want to.
Well, you don't have to. But
You know, Nick.
I want to activate Kylted's PTSD. So.
Oh, yummy.
Yummy. Well, it won't go 4 hours. I'll tell you that.
What do you need to tell me, Buck?
There's a real simple way to reward activity versus a ranking system, and that is simply rewarding and putting experience points as your ladder board or your leaderboard, and then just hosting a rank of skill point, and that's it. So your rank or your win-loss rate dictates your rank, and your time played, games played would indicate your leaderboard.
If they just wanted to reward activity, they could literally give you like daily and weekly quests or tasks. Be like, kill 1,000 troops in ranked, and if you complete that by the end of the week, you get 50 gems. They could just do like lots of little fun things, like win 2 caps games, and if you complete that by the end of the week, you get 25 gems. They could do all sorts of stuff like that rewards activity, but that's completely unrelated to rank.
Yeah,
As
but
it should be.
they're not in the business of rewarding and giving away free money. What they're trying to do is reward activity or gain interest so people spend money. Because all these people, if they give gems as rewards for quests, nobody's ever going to spend any money. They're just going to go out, they're going to win their weekly quests, this, that, and the other, just to unlock maps.
It doesn't work as a loss leader?
Activity, though.
Does it, like,
it would promote activity, though.
Buck, you don't think that would work as a loss leader? You don't think people would get, like, well, not quite enough gems, but some amount of gems, like, all right, fine, I'll pony up the dough, or no?
No.
Okay.
It's been proven already throughout.
Proven by what?
Well, you look how many people join the server and are like, "No, I'm not spending money on this," or "I'll join your."
Oh,
You have these.
Pete, if you don't win this game, like I'll be so sad with you.
I bet you someone breaks me. These are
APS, baby.
these are the FFA final settings, so no alliances, even though most of us are in VC here.
Yeah, that just means that everybody gets to yell at Pete for doing stupid shit.
Hey man, you had your shot. You want okay? So what are your settings for next game, Nick? You get next game, my friend.
We're doing Prague on Castle.
Okay, that sounds awful, but I promised.
Not Simple World Zombies would be much more
I get
trolly.
4 troops.
Simple World Zombies on Kylted show was spectacular. I really enjoyed losing that way and getting a single card or something. So
I'm so glad I showed those settings to you.
they're great, man. They're really fun and chaotic, but that's like classic you. So
You know, Pete,
Yes.
we've touched on the topic of psychology many times in our.
it's my
podcast.
my favorite thing, man.
Yeah. Now, what I think would be game changing is forgetting the 500 emotes that you have 10 things between 15 different characters. I think forgetting the different characters and using 500 different emotions or different communication tactics would be better off than having 5 different characters with an angry face. I think you only need one character with an angry face.
Well, yeah.
And if
I
you
mean, that's the whole thing about where the devs choose to allocate their limited resources. Like I look at dice skins, and if it has been determined that their market research shows that players want to play the game and stick around the game because of fancy graphics and dice skins and whatever, then cool. But I really think that give me my speed back. Give us grandmasters the aspirational ability to play at the very, very edge of our ability, and make the game functionally as fun as it can be, and every single frill beyond that doesn't appeal to me. But maybe I'm the minority, right?
Well, I agree with the nerfing of speed for creation of equality.
Okay, but it didn't.
Not because a person's ability to play one faster than another person. It's because of a devices. I think the reason behind the nerf of being able to bring equality across devices is a far better solution than anything else, because that dictates that, hey, we're all on the same playing field. Whereas I was getting my ass stomped in any World Dom game simply because I wasn't on a PC. They've got, I think it was something like 60 some odd % of their players, or 70% of their players are on mobile device, which means that if you were to allow the speed only on PC, you're given 30% of your player base an immediate advantage.
Yeah, which is how it was.
Yes.
Yep.
So I agree with the nerfing.
Sure, but then they nerfed mobile. So what's going on?
Oh no, not this again.
I think the speed to 0.5 of a second or whatever it is now, I think is, or 0.3 of a second actually, I think it is. I think that across the board, as an even playing field, is realistic and acceptable.
Okay.
Are you talking about nerfing PC speed?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That I'd quit probably pretty instantly.
Well,
then.
generally people want buffs and so here's the thing. These ideas are great in ways to improve the game, but I think it's important to focus on what they're trying to do. They want to fix a ranking system that doesn't
Yes. Get us back on
rewards
topic.
people. They want to fix the XP system, not change the way the speed of attack. That's a different project.
Thank you.
If you have all these crazy ideas, it creates scope creep and prevents the overall goal of what they want to do. So I think it's important to focus the conversation on how do we make the ladder better? How do we make XP better?
You are right.
Well, XP, and very few top 100s look at this. But there's players out there that have 0 world domination games have 12 million experience points or more, and they've never played a global game. All they play is single player, and they have 30,000 single player games. So
Yeah, and that's toxic grinding.
The way you said toxic, just no.
League of Legends players get triggered by that word. We can't do it.
Can you explain why that triggers you?
No, it's just the way you said it. It's so weird.
I don't agree that XP should dictate a higher position in a multiplayer game. Because it's regulated against single player games as well. So if you want to be ranked against other players in a multiplayer game, the ranking system should be based on your win-loss rank against other players, not AI opponents. Because I can win every fucking single player game I enter, you know? I've got 1,006 win streak in scenarios in single player games. I've got it's ridiculous. So in my experience, like my XP, let me just bring it up real quick because my XP is ridiculously low. Let me just bring up my stats on so I have 207,000 experience points. I'm ranked 200,000 in the leaderboard for experience. But yet my games completed, I have 4,354 and I'm ranked 2,760. So out of my experience versus my games completed, it doesn't equate. And then you've got my skill points put me, in the top 25 roughly in the world. As in my ability to play. So it shows a very different statistic versus my ability and my skill versus my experience. I'm far more skilled than my experience would dictate. And I'll give you another example. Because let me just bring up. So Zeraki, for example, right? He's got almost 3 million skill points. 3 million experience points. And he's ranked 4,906 in the leaderboard. Yet his games completed is only 2,000 more than me, or not even 2,000 more than me. But yet, so he's got a third more games, but he has 10 times the experience.
The XP just doesn't make sense. It encourages people just play a lot of single player games. And what we want to have people is that's the whole idea of having a gem system or just something so it's not just doing the same thing over and over. We want to have people to basically when they go up the ladder or go up the XP have fun while doing it.
I think experience is based on single player, and I think it weighs heavily on experience versus on single player versus global, because the number one person with experience has got 32 million experience points, but his global games he has 0.
What do you think of giving people a little something then, incentive wise from those XP, right? Make them worth something.
No, I think skill points should be worth something.
Got it. Yeah, man.
reward your ability to play against other players. Don't reward the ability to sit there and manipulate bots.
Sure.
Because
Seems reasonable.
there's only 5 personalities in bots. There's 3 million players. I mean, every single top player can manipulate bots.
Should.
Yeah, there's not a
Well,
not a top player who cannot manipulate the bots. Hell, even I can manipulate zombies, and I hate them, and I lose most zombie games.
You're too hard on yourself, Buck.
He likes to think he can manipulate them.
There you go.
I'm not as good as other people at zombies, but you know.
So this is unless any of you guys want to jump in, I just wanted to take the opportunity. No, Frail, no. Don't hit me. Oh, what an asshole.
Got him.
Yeah. Oh,
Got him.
Fair enough. It serves me right for letting him have his content. So I was watching the ranking and XP thread that Lucy opened up, and I just wanted to kind of summarize to what Olive was saying about.
Oh, damn, he's really slamming you.
Yeah, you might as well.
APS.
Yeah, straight up. So I summarized, my take on it. I spent the better part of a couple of days thinking, and then I spent an hour and a half writing this all out. But the summary, as I see, how do we fix the ranking system? So far, I have seen 5 main threads I would like to incorporate into a proposal. Number 1, we've spoken about already on this show, separate the 1v1 and free-for-all leaderboard. Number 2, this is the thing that I think could work, but I've had very convincing arguments why it's not the best idea. Balance the SP gain or loss per game to be a more fair reflection of the skill of the player, and the way I would do that would be to make your gains and your losses slower. Point 3 would be strongly incentivize playing to win. I know this is Obiwan's hill to die on.
Pay to win, pay to win.
Is it pay to win? How
No.
do I just ruin his entire life?
Yeah, the whole idea, like,
You may try.
one of the best thing about this game, the fact
I'm
that
happy to
the
lose.
people who invest the time are the ones that win, and like the way that the game makes money is through cosmetics and maps, not through getting like artificial powers and like basically putting more money in than anyone else to get stuff. Like that's what's great about the game, and I love that the devs don't take the standard iPhone app model of pay to win, and I think that's fundamental that any model should continue to be play to win.
All right, let me give you a rough idea here, right? So I've gone into the experience leaderboard, and I have about 4,500 games played. I have 200,000 XP. Now I have a fuck ton of global games, which put me at rank currently 28 in the world. Now I go into the player on the XP list of 597 who has 4,385 games. So he's similar games completed. He has a little over 50% games won. But yet his experience is 6 million, which is 30 times greater than my experience, yet I have a few more games completed than he does. Now, this person here is on a 50-50 win rate. My win rate is far exceeding that. But yet his global games are 3-5-3-5. Games won 1-9-1-9. So whose experience? How does he get so much more experience? What is experience rewarding?
I just think that the whole way experience is calculated just like doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
And I think out of ranking it and XP, you need to change like that like just give a clear formula of what XP is and what you're going to change it to. Like make it a clear progression system. It's like regardless of like what you do, Like that's the way that you will that you'll advance. Like whether you're doing like one player free for all, like 1v1s, make it like a systematic way where you do like this mode, you'll get this many points, and like this is how you can like rank up. And make it very clear that regardless of how you want to wake up, you'll get a progression out of it.
Yes. So, anyway, guys, I got to get back to work.
All right. Thank you for contributing, Buck. I appreciate your thoughts always, man.
Yeah, no dramas. If you got any questions, just DM them to me, mate.
For sure.
I'll do what I can do. But I really do gotta go.
All right. Be well.
All right. See
you later, man.
Have a good one, dude.
Yeah.
Before you go, oh shit, gotta talk to him about something later.
So where was I at in my spiel? I got 2.3. Strongly incentivize playing to win, which is Obiwan's hill to die. And he's like, well, everyone playing for second is awful, and he's hardline on the only first place should get points and everyone else should get nothing. I'm not necessarily sold either way, but I do think that the argument for playing to win should carry a lot of weight. Point 4, I see some kind of rank decay we've spoken about. I would be in favor of what Sterling was suggesting, the ghost rank, where maybe you don't play a game after 7 days, your name pops off the leaderboard until you do, but you still maintain all the SP you had before. And point 5, I would say the end of noob grinding. Don't give us the ability to figure out whose stats we're playing against. If everyone was blind to everyone else, whoever won would necessarily be a more true test of skill, no?
Or you dilute it so much that if you are playing, like with Nyx in the very beginning, if you're playing someone who's like vastly lower in skill than you, don't get any rank for winning.
Right. So it becomes almost pointless. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think these are good like summaries so far of things we can do to change. What else is on your mind, Olive, that you'd like to touch on? Because I do want to stay on point. You're right. We should focus.
Focusing.
So I think the other thing, and I just want to rate the top of like the leaderboard. One thing that I think is like very important as well is like the idea of when you have a new system being put into place, I'd be fine with resetting the whole ladder system. Like start everyone on a novice, or start like everyone like, at their base levels. Like if you're like a GM, you start as base GM. If you're like a top master, you start off as like a mid, like a regular master. And like the idea is that once you have a new system put in place, that will like reward playing a variety of game modes. Just reset everything. I have the most to lose from it. I got to the very top of the leaderboard. I put hundreds of hours in on this like silly system. Simply because I would rather have a system that rewards playing a wide variety of like skill settings. That like. So I think that's something that's really, really important that we have something like that. That once we get something good, just get rid of the whole old system, because the old system right now, the way that it is, like it doesn't work.
Start from scratch.
Yeah.
I feel like you would get a ton of pushback from that idea.
Why do you say that?
Because it's not just your hours, right? It's everyone else's.
Yeah, but so there's going to be a whole lot of pushback, but I have the most to lose from it.
Yep.
And this is a system that hurts a lot of people. I mean, not in the sense that like the ranking system just doesn't work. And I'd rather have my rank be meaningful.
Me too, man.
I agree with Olive. It needs to be reset regardless.
Yeah.
Well, then you better have something that works set up, because if it's going to be reset for nothing, that's a real feel bad for the community.
Yeah. There is one last idea to like bring up.
Mm-hmm.
So Keith, do you know about like a Brutal's proposal?
Go ahead.
Oh boy. Here we go. It's the one we've been waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear about this, Nick?
Yeah, I'm one of the people he told about it.
One of the 1,000.
Yeah.
You have to kill Frail first.
And we're gonna hear from it right after Olive finishes his turn.
The worst kept secret on the Risk Discord. Fucking brutal.
Well, he posted it, so it's public now.
It is public now, but it was still a terribly kept secret on his part.
That's all him. I was thinking about doing a show with Brutal, just one-on-one, so he can share whatever he'd like to share. I can learn about him, and we can play, and we can talk about this idea and whatever else he'd like. So that will be fun. Hopefully he accepts. But what's the play now for Olive?
I'm just gonna end here. I can't kill anyone else. I don't want them to get too addicted to kill the others. So the way the whole Brutal's idea works is that basically like the ladder acts like kind of similar until you get to a GM level, right? So maybe you implement a system, but at GM it gets very different. And the goal is they want to make it a very competitive tournament-based systems. So the whole idea is that you don't earn points until you play other Grandmasters. And the only way you're allowed to become a Grandmaster is if you decide to play in the tournament scene. And they're going to have like a wide variety of like tournaments, mainly using like the Discord, like zombies, free-for-all, 1v1, 2v2, using balance, blitz, true random, all these crazy like different modes. And the idea is that like you have this whole like ranking system put in place that will basically, and by having all these different tournaments, you're basically allowing people like to prove what their rank is on ladder through participation and like and effectiveness in these tournaments. What you also have is that you have rank decay. So basically, the points that you have are only valid for a certain number of months, and then they're no longer valid. So it's a very similar concept of like what was brought up before. And you also have the idea that if, based on your rank in the ladder, you can be challenged by people with like a similar ranking to you, and then if you lose to that person who challenged you, like you go down like a ranking. And that was a really nice kill by Kylted, although he lost a lot of like stuff in that. And the whole idea is by having this whole like a tournament like a base system, is that like you're basically allowing people to prove who is the best in the world by having like these constant of games like against like with each other. Brutal explains this like a lot more like fluidly than me. Like he's like the mastermind like behind it. Like this is like a very like different idea than what a lot of people has. It's going to take like a lot of work to implement like such a system. But if it does work, it allows really a very competitive game series among the top players where they will be playing each other and earning points through this like a tournament based mode. So what do you think about that idea?
I think it's very promising. The first criticism that jumps to my mind is we are already experiencing such a stretch to get SMG to implement anything we suggest, so the larger a departure it might be from what we have now, the less likely we will be able to affect change. So there is something to be said for inertia, right? Trying to keep things as similar, right, without reinventing the wheel as possible. But I would love, I do just love the idea of competition, so I would love to be able to play, have my rank be meaningful, stick my number up against yours, or up against Kylted or Nick's or anyone's, right? And say, where do we all stack up? More tournaments, more ability to compete with each other in a real way, I'm all for that.
Yeah, I think the whole thing with it is that the way that we're doing this, like right now, we kind of have like a small like Nick community that like works out well. We all enjoy our time with each other. We really make the most out of it. But if the Brutal's like big selling point to this is that if we go to this big like expansive tournament based mode, what we would be able to do is sell a system that essentially could get like very big name brand recognition because you'll be having a very comprehensive like base mode. It would have it would eventually it'll make like a Risk one like the next like chess where like everyone's like playing it because you're having this very comprehensive system like being like put into place. Now like to go from like that system to like the whole like big tourney based system like that's like his big like selling point. We could do like something small like or go big, and if you go big, like that's what's going to work.
Yeah, and it would attract the eyeballs, right? I know Brutal's ambition is to get Risk something like an esport, right? Get lots of money, lots of sponsorship, lots of attention. I would love all of that, right? It's a household name for crying out loud. The fact that we don't have world tournaments that are prized out, you know, that Hasbro isn't really putting big money into this, I find a little bit surprising. Like, again, not to get too far off topic, but I'll just say briefly, one thing that I've been kicking around in my head that I think would tremendously help the game is marketing and messaging. And Risk has this stigma about taking a long time, and that is a huge barrier to entry in the zeitgeist, right? So if we could just get somewhere, have the marketing say, hey, this Risk Global Domination is the 20-minute Risk. You know, you can get a fun game in, see where you stack up against other players, and it doesn't have to take a long time. I think that would be a core element of their messaging that they could use to attract a lot more people to the game potentially.
Yeah, again, that's a different project in and of itself. Like market the game as an esport or a game like for all. I mean, like that's just like a different strategy, right there. Again, like their main focus right now is making a system that like focuses on making like the leaderboard meaningful, that doesn't encourage noob grinding, and making an XP system where when rewarding you for play rather than have like an arbitrary number based system that only a couple people grind. And I think that's like the biggest worry like through all of this. Like I see all these great ideas like on the leaderboard and like and like what should be done and and people are giving all these great ideas and I'm like, unless you have a very concrete plan, you have like a very narrow focus like on what you're going to do, it's not going to work. And I think that is what kind of needs to be kept in mind through like all of this.
I'm trying my best, man. I really am to keep it coherent.
This is why I wanted to implement a better elo system like with chess, because it's not a very far deviation from what we have. It's just that a few numbers would have to be tweaked in the algorithm at best, and limiting people from playing outside of a certain range. Like that's all it is. Like it's such a simple change that can be made to the system to make it better.
Yeah. Here's another idea we actually haven't had a chance to talk about, because was the idea of only gaining rank if you win a game. So currently the way the system works is if you're in a 6-player game, the bottom 3 people, 6, 5, and 4, they will lose ranking points. Then the first through third people will gain ranking points. The person winning will be gaining like the most. And the idea is that once you get a high enough rank, you understand how the ranking system works. Some people are incentivized where if they realize that they can win, they just suicide on the person that's like in third place when they're second to guarantee that they get second, and then therefore they can gain the most ranking points they can like out of that game, rather than trying their best to win the game from that position. And that's going to reduce like suicide and have like a more meaningful ladder-based system in the way that people play against each other.
Are you asking me what I think about that?
Yeah. So what do you think about like that idea? Like that's like a ladder idea we haven't talked about yet.
So that's very much it's very much what Obiwan, I know Champ posted in that thread, and a number of people have been talking about. The criticism that I have heard to that idea is that you want to incentivize players to get something for their time. So if not some amount of SP, then what?
But the idea is that if you have like an XP based system, you're always gaining levels. You can gain like a gems or another like base reward for playing. You'll be able. Oh my gosh, I can't believe Kylted got so lucky this game. I felt like he made a mistake killing me.
All skill, baby.
But- Yeah, but like
You're still in that game?
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
Hey,
he killed.
69.
He just got 69 troops. You better dab.
I don't have the dab emote yet. As soon as it's in the shop, I'm buying it. But until
Kylted,
then,
you're a tournament winner. What are you going to use with those gems?
To buy
every time
dabs.
the emotes come up, I'm gonna buy them. But they haven't come up yet.
No, I think it makes sense, Olive. I think if you really want, people to play to win, you have to reward them as such. So the current system doesn't necessarily do that very well, and that's why you have a lot of complaints. I mean, I watch a thread on Reddit weekly. Oh, this guy's suiciding to me. This guy's suiciding to me. How dumb are they? How stupid are Risk players, right? And well, it doesn't tell the whole story. All right, Nick, what are your settings, buddy?
Well, it's just Castle with Prague and Blizzards.
Progressive Castle Prague Blizzards? No fog? Yes, fog.
I mean,
Yeah, 1 second. My app is
I don't think
downloading
it's
right
gonna
now.
matter.
I can sit out
Fog's
next
not going to
game.
matter,
Well,
Pete.
This will be the last game, so
You can leave Fog off.
do you want me to wait for you, Olive?
Yeah, it'll just take like a minute or two.
Yeah. Let's wait it out. Fog off, Blizzard's on, progressive. Let's do Nick's castle settings because I said I would.
So, you know,
NVSQQ.
This is Buck's map, not mine.
Okay. Whatever you got to tell yourself.
This is his 1v1 map.
Yeah, but a 1v1 map with 6 opponents means what?
I really wonder.
I'm curious as well. You'll have to tell me. So what do you got for us, Nick? You haven't really... I know you like to pipe up, but like, what would you like to see? How would we fix the numbers? That's it? Just change the systems ever so slightly to be more fair? You think that would solve it?
I do want to see quests added to the game.
Okay.
Not because of something I want personally, but because I know they promote people playing the game more in general. And I'm pretty sure that's something that SMG would go for.
Cool.
Quests are fundamental to most games that are played on mobile at this point. This game should not be any different. And it's not like it detracts from anything in the game either. But as for the ranking system itself, I actually would prefer the ELO system to be changed, but I still want rank decay. I do want rank decay. Because I don't want people being able to sit at the top and then not play, and then nobody else can get past them because they aren't playing.
That is true. I'm never playing ranked again under this current system.
You proved your point. That's it. You made it to number 1.
Exactly. I got it for a screenshot for 3 hours.
That's it.
And then I literally IM Zaraki and say, hey, play a game. I'm not playing ranked ever again.
Yeah.
It's... Again, I got it to say that I was able to to push the limits of endurance and then in a skill-based thing. But I'd rather get it by winning a series of tournaments and by beating the best players in the world to objectively earn it, rather than just saying I'm putting my time in doing a silly thing. I originally had a goal for this show.
It really was a
where
time suck.
Where Pete would just literally noob grind the entire time, and people would watch him noob grind to see what people actually do for hours a day to get to top of the leaderboard. This is more fun though.
Well, yeah, it would have been very artsy watching someone just demolish again and again and again on the same settings, but
Watching them kick 12 people in a row until they get the perfect
until you get the
noob.
perfect guy. Yeah, absolutely.
And then we have a joke where someone actually goes in to snipe Pete, and it actually ends up being a really intense game.
Yeah, it would
That would be
be,
hilarious.
it'd be a fun one. Well, I mean, Nick, I know you don't noob grind, and I don't think Frail does either, right, as I recall. Frail plays any ranks. Maybe I'm I'm putting words.
Frail does not noob grind. He
Right.
he has like the second highest natural rank on ladder.
Nice, but still 1v1s.
Yeah, doing 1v1s, of course.
Yeah, and
I think Amerigo has the highest.
Amerigo doesn't
There
noob
was-
grind?
Oh, no, Amerigo has a noob grinding account, but he also has like an account he plays like five-a-side setting on like a wide variety of like
Got it.
of skills. He plays like experts and masters a lot.
So, Pete, there was one weekend where I tried noob grinding just to prove that I could do it.
Yeah.
I went from rank 12,000 to 1,500, and then I chose to lose it all because it didn't sit right with me.
It was a feel bad.
Yeah. The only time I 1v1 now is if I'm joining someone else's lobby unranked.
Mhm.
Or if it's competitive reasons, like outside of the rank system entirely.
Yeah, everyone has their own policy with that. My way of approaching it, just in case you're listening and you're new to my show, I came onto the Discord as a free for all guy. I never had a 1v1 game in my life, and then after the free for all tournament, I started a 1v1 account for the sake of the speed run, and I got Grandmaster in 6 hours. Which speaks to everything we were talking about that's wrong with the system, right? Name me a true Grandmaster that is such after 6 hours of work. And I don't presume to be super good at Risk either, so I don't think that had anything to do with it. But then I'm sitting with this account, and it's like, I think it was 6 hours to get Grandmaster, 9 hours to get top 500, so I'm sitting in top 500, I was like, okay, why not just get top 10 so I can say I'm top 10? And similar to what Olive did, but maybe to a slightly lesser degree, I am now a top 10 player, undeniably, but not on my main account. The one I play with is currently ranked like 60-something, but that's a free-for-all account. So that's the juxtaposition, right? Olive's point earlier about how it's practically impossible to be top 10 playing free-for-all. I think the best rank I ever got was 29th place, and that was 5.5 million skill points. I think right now I'm at 60, I can tell you exactly. Right now I'm ranked 64 and I'm at 5.2 million. So there has been a skill point inflation since then. I also don't think 5.5 million playing free-for-all in the current system is a feat that I will even be able to repeat. So, alright. We got a game, guys. Ready up.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And that's the thing. The longer the system goes on, the more that there's going to be inflation, both of like XP and of SP on like the actual ladder rank.
Another reason to have rank Decay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like in February of this year, the top players were 7.3 million, and top 10 was like 6.3 million. There's been like a 15-20% increase in like skill rank, but the players haven't gotten like objectively 20% better. It's just they've gotten better at like putting their time in doing this stuff.
Pete, your spawn is so shit this game.
Oh, that's a tragedy. You should probably kill me.
Well, Kylted should protect you.
At least you go last.
Wait, what's going on? What are we playing? This is just progressive to win?
Just progressive.
Yeah, this is progressive to win. So what you should do is you should put your all your troops on North Wing and hit keep.
You want me to kill... Which one? Is that black? I'm not even black.
No, you should attack the red player.
I'm going to protect him in the corner.
I feel like you should attack the black and purple players.
Hey, Pete, I'm not the most dangerous person in this game right now.
Who
that
is?
dubious honor goes to Emily.
Emily's the most dangerous person in this game. That's true. That's a true story.
Well, all I know is that Emily's my best friend and she's protecting me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can call it that.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, Pete, because one thing about that SMG has done in the past is they've been very, very slow to implement stuff.
Okay.
How long do you think it's going to take to implement this idea, and how much patience should we give them?
So I had a bit of good news today. So we were playing this morning. I was playing Pangea, and there has been a pathing break in Pangea since I've been playing that map. You might recall it's in Europe between Italy and UK. So they fixed that. they actually made a change to a map. And what did my suggestion to work on Japan get? Something like 70 upvotes? Which is what Lucy point blank told me was needed to get these suggestions noticed. As far as timeline, I don't know. I'm a more patient man than most, probably because I'm older than you guys. But, which is counterintuitive. You'd figure an older person would be more impatient, seeing as how they're closer to death. But here we are. The upvotes I got on that suggestion was like something like 70. So how long do you think it's going to take for SMG to listen to 70 of us suggesting that we change a number?
Weaken a map.
Yeah. Essentially weaken a map, right. Or rebalance it, however you want to think about it.
So, here's the thing. Before you came on to the Discord, almost every update had map changes.
Okay.
Almost everyone. This was like several months before you came onto the Discord. This was like 2020 era. When I first joined, I was noticing 2 or 3 map changes. Usually pathing fixes. Sometimes bonuses got changed, like with the Roman Empire. Britain used to be a
Be careful,
+1
red player.
bonus that had 1 territory in it, and it later got changed to being a +2 with 2 territories. Stuff like that was common.
Okay.
I don't know what happened, but on the back end of 2020, those changes just stopped entirely. So it's not a matter of SMG not being able to do it.
No, I figured as much. I figured it was likely quite simple for them to do should they choose to. But what up?
Yeah, it's where they want to devote their resources.
Yeah, dice
'Cause
skins.
right now, SMG's put a lot of time and energy into putting a lot of maps and cool cosmetics. I mean, and yes, it's really nice to have General Dab, and honestly, the advanced maps and like the Lost Cities map pack, yeah, those have been like really fun. We've had a lot of good games on them.
I really enjoy.
I think though, at some point, to get to the players to want to stay in the game and continue to devote time into it, you also need to invest in and make like a large change, to the ladders or to the tournament scene, or adjust in the way like the player retention, or to give like meaningful rewards to people and like what they do. That is what will, I think, really like draw people into competitive people into the game. So it's just like understanding what is your SMG just has to always think what is their overall goal, what they want to do. And I think when they come to that decision, and they decide to really focus on the ladder, I think this game can become a lot more meaningful and a lot more fun for everyone. And that's what's going to really drive a lot of people into the game. If you have tens of thousands, 100,000 more people play, that's more people buying your cosmetics, because you have a much more meaningful a app that people enjoy.
Yeah, a bigger game just benefits everyone as far as I can tell. And that's why I've been so gung-ho to signal boost everyone else's work, everyone's video work. I'm so happy to see more people making Risk content, more people playing, more people getting other people better, more people attending the tournaments, more people active in the community. All of this seems to me to be a benefit to me directly. You know, a rising tide raises all ships, and that is always the philosophy. The more the merrier. Always the philosophy I've operated on, and I think you can attest all of seeing what you've done for this community. You know, all of it's always there to give a helpful hand to newer players. Yeah. You know, straight up, no nonsense advice, assistance. It's nice to have guys like you around, man.
It's because people did the same thing for me.
Yeah.
I was just one of those people that I put some time in the game when the pandemic first started. I got to Grandmaster, only doing Pix Classic, took a break for a bit, came back, watched all the Champion Ever, went on to his Discord and worked with Riskmaster Gabe, learned about 1v1s, and eventually got myself to the top 10, got involved with the main Discord, and that's when my skills improved. If we are able to create a very meaningful game where we can get more participation on the Discord and more people getting involved, and you create like a much stronger like competitive like scene and closely knit players. Like those are the people who are going to invest a lot of money and time like into your game, and people who will really like drive like the value like for your game. Like that's what we want to see. Like I help people because the community has helped me, and I want to give back to it. That's why I'm participating on this podcast, because I want the game to be the best that it can be, because I'm so happy with what this game is able to do.
So it's funny you frame it like that, because I think I'm more selfish than you, right? I think very core to my motivation to help others is I just see it as a better game for me ultimately, right? Every single day I'm going to sit down and play a couple games of Risk. Someone is going to ruin my game accidentally because they don't know how to play. And I could take two approaches to that. I can get really pissed off and yell at them and call them a noob, or I can do all of this work trying to make people understand Progressive just a little bit better. And maybe I thread that needle sometimes better some days than others, but you see what I'm saying, right?
You forgot the option where you complain on Reddit.
No, that's you. More. Welcome, Obiwan, to the conversation. We've been waiting. We've been waiting to hear from you.
Mastermind.
Yes, sir. We've been waiting.
He also
I've been
forgot the option
eavesdropping.
where I intentionally ruin his games.
Please, sir, you have the floor. We would love to hear from you.
All right. Well, as I don't know if it was Nick or Olive alluded to, having like a very concrete proposal for the rank update is something that I have done many months ago, and it was still based on the ELO formula, which has its flaws, but essentially I realized one of the flaws in their implementation of the multiplayer calculation to ELO, because ELO is just pairwise calculation, and the way they implemented it was just like averaging all the players that you play against in the single game. So you're still having to maintain that win rate that you would have to have in a 1v1 against 5 and 6 players. It's just not possible. So that's another reason I feel like winner should take all, because that is the ultimate ratio that matters, is how many times you win the game versus how many times you don't win the game. And so it doesn't matter 6th through 2nd, they should all be the same, because it matters who wins the game. There's no points for 2nd place. Close only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and mathematical approximations. So I created the formula for they can just easily grab it and implement it and take it and run with it. I balanced it for 1v1s and 6 players and 4 players, and I balanced it for 7 million skill points players playing noobs, so they get even fewer points than they do now. And then when you're playing equal opponents, you get more skill points than you would now. So I balanced it, just everything that's currently wrong with the system, I added to it, except for rank decay. Rank decay doesn't really happen in ELO. That's the other flaw with it. And I don't really have much of a problem with rank decay. I think if you've earned your rank, you've earned it. But a lot of people do have an issue with that. And one solution that I've seen proposed is the Glico system, which I haven't really looked into, so I can't speak too much on it. Yes. But
Let's talk
Nick,
about
Nick,
it.
do you know about this system?
if I were to make a second, like a proposal 2.0, I would look at implementing Glico in a way. The problem with Glico is it still is pairwise based, so it would still have the multiplayer disadvantage that S&G has implemented with ELO. So if they just take Glico and replace ELO, all you've added is rank decay. You still have all the free-for-all problems of multiplayer. So I'm a little hesitant to promote the Glico as a solution for that reason. because it only solves the rank decay issue. It doesn't solve anything else, like my proposal does. My proposal solves pretty much everything else except for rank decay, which I think an easier way to do rank decay is just say your name disappears off the leaderboard until you play every week. I mean, I think that's easier, but you know.
Awesome.
Yeah. There's just like
It could be
so many
implemented.
ideas around like right now, so it's hard to figure out like what's like a good idea and like what still needs to be done.
One thing I wanted to do was summarize everything in one place, because my strength rather is not coming up with the ideas, but maybe implementing a system where we can aggregate and come to an agreement. So I think the next step would be putting together something very simple, very coherent, that people could vote on and say, you know, we as a community feel this way about this subject, that subject, and the other. And then, you know, present that to SMG together.
Yeah, so the thing is though is that when you have a community, you're just going to have many different ideas.
Yep.
And the idea is if you just end up having people going into these different factions, SMG will read it and be like, okay, the community doesn't know what they want, so let's just do our own plan.
Right.
I think if you want to do something like that, it has to be a very couple concrete ideas. I think most people like in the Discord universally agree on it. So I think most people universally agree like rank decay is good. Most people universally agree the XP system needs to be completely remade. Most people want a free-for-all and a 1v1 leaderboard. So maybe the most uncontroversial ideas, we can push that. And I think we even had this in our conversations today, and I keep reiterating this point because, like, again, I work in business. I know one of the biggest risks in a project like this, and that's scope creep.
Yep.
The concept of you add in all these great ideas that sound good on paper, but don't match up to what the overall goal and scope of the project is.
Giant waste of time.
So, like, yeah.
Yep.
You want to have a couple small ideas so the team that's working on this is reasonable, and that they can implement it and make the project a success. So
You this game, Pete.
the most important thing we do as a
I
community
fucking swear.
is decide what are the most important ideas and go from there.
I'm down, man. I'm down to help in the way that I can, which is not the way that you can, and definitely not the way that Obiwan can. Like, I'm good at what I'm good at, and I'm definitely not good at the number stuff, so you just point me in the right direction. I'm a bit of a bull in a china shop compared to you guys.
And you're the megaphone for these ideas.
Well, which is ironic, right? Because I hope you guys feel like I'm not ego invested in this. I just want the game to be better. So however we come up with, I don't need to take credit. I just want to, for better or worse, I've built this megaphone. So, you know, don't ask me necessarily what I think. Sell me on an argument, maybe, but I'm not where the buck stops. So let's figure out what actually makes sense, and then how we package it and implement it is. I mean, maybe the packaging is what I can help with, but the implementation is all SMG.
Yeah, and
Can I
it's
just take
funny.
a break?
Last time I was on the show, during the interview show, you were talking about the Japan thing, and I was talking about the rank thing, and I'm like, oh, I'm sure your thing will be implemented way before mine is. And here they're like actually asking for ideas. I was floored. Like, the fact that they're doing this like really shows that they want to please the player base, and that I think they honestly have no idea how. So I think there have been a lot of echoed sentiments and suggestions in that thread that I think they will listen to. I don't necessarily agree with all of them, like the separate 1v1 free-for-all leaderboard.
You don't like
but
that?
It doesn't hurt me. I mean, I'm more ambivalent to it. I think it's not necessary.
Okay.
It's more of a band-aid.
Okay.
But I do think with the overwhelming majority of the player base going for it, that they ought to implement it, whether I care for it or not.
Sure.
I agree, Kylted. All of the fucking dickbag.
Oh my god.
Oh, what? Y'all are actually still playing Risk?
We are.
No, just kidding.
Oh my god!
Oh, Frail, no! Oh no! Well, the game's over now.
I don't think it's over yet. I mean, Frail can't get another kill. Well, he gets a double trade, actually.
Mm-hmm. That value.
He can't kill me, though. He can't kill me. The only person he could realistically kill
is Pete.
No, he can't kill me.
That's true, yeah.
He doesn't have
kill
the
right now.
He could kill all of
We only
me.
have one card. It's not worth it to kill me for the card.
Yeah, but it's worth it to kill you because you're a dick.
Got him.
Nope.
And that is what we're gonna quit. That's the caption for the show. How to fix the ranking system? It's worth it to kill you because you're a dick. Nah, I'm just kidding. I love these captions.
Yeah, Frail realizes he can't do anything.
Don't hit me.
I'd like to thank you for.
I knew what I was doing. I was giving up the white player while still causing balance in the force.
I feel like I should kill you anyways.
Who, me?
You know what?
I really do.
Yeah, do it. You show him.
Yeah, you show me who's boss.
Oh man.
I see you taking half my stack. I don't think that was the right play though, because now you're in a lot of shit.
Oh, I guess I gotta ride this one out.
I had no cash on 4. It was dirty.
Tragic.
I'm going back here though.
I'm gonna continue protecting you, Nick, because you're my friend.
Yeah, that was supposed to be my spot, but Emma did a frowny face, so I was scared to stay there because I know she'll fucking kill me.
Yeah, good. Oh shit!
You deserve that.
Why?
Guard blocked her.
I did not. She card blocked herself. Man, it's some cutthroat shit.
I mean, you could kill her easily.
Easily?
Yeah, easily. All of your stacks have access to hitting that 27.
Yeah, I think you can do it. You have to put if you put 10 on your 15 and the rest on your 13, you can only you easily rip me up.
Well,
Use your other 15 to soften up the 27.
that'd be fun.
Yeah, you got it.
Thanks, guys. Shut up, Nick.
Yeah. Well, yeah, perfect. I would have probably... Yep, that's 100%. Very nice. You killed me first. Why? Why did you kill Emily? That was a huge mistake, Pete.
Oh, because you're a dick.
Pete,
Yes?
you need to kill Emily!
I don't feel like I understood the thing you guys were telling me to do.
You had to kill Emily, no!
I don't think
Kill
it,
the
No,
rank
I
1
hate
player.
this.
I don't think it worked.
I was telling you to go through him to kill her, not to kill him.
But he needed to die.
He did need to die.
Come on, that's what happens.
But don't act like that's what we were telling you to do.
No, obviously I didn't understand what you were telling me to do, because here we
You
are.
know exactly what we were telling you to do.
Now Frail wins. What the hell?
Girl's like, what game am I in right now?
He's having a good
I
time.
just wanted to remove any chance of me winning.
Welcome to high level chess, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, indeed. We're supposed to be playing chess?
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
crap.
Fuck.
Fiddle dee dee.
I'm not checked out, I swear.
I'll kick your ass in chess.
All right, we're wrapping up the show. So, last words, please and thank you for us folks still in the VC. Anyone got anything left to say that they didn't
What I
get
would just
to?
say to SMG,
Yeah.
thank you so much for investing time into the game and the community, to thinking about ways to improve the experience for players. As you can tell, there's a lot of passionate people, and we are here to support you in any way that we can to make this game the best that it can be. And we're excited to see what you come up with, and we hope that this video gave you some good ideas of what to consider.
Yeah, man.
I leave.
Thanks a lot for making a game that I have now spent. What is it? Oh, 1,261 hours on this account alone. Look at that. It's obviously tickling me somewhere. And I think you guys would say the same.
Can I leave a message for Pete's comment section?
I'm ready.
If you made it to this point in the video, please comment Penis Parker. Just for Pete. I know he'll love it.
I like it. I like it. Give it to me. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Obiwan. Thanks, Kylted. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Olive, our newest #1 player. Thanks to Buck. Who did I miss that we had? Oh, and thanks to Major. Yeah, Obi. Cheers, man.
Yeah, thanks for letting me crash the party, guys.
Always. You're all.
Oh man, your thoughts were really appreciated.
Yeah, totally. All right. Great place to sign off. Thank you all for watching. I hope some of these thoughts percolate. If anyone has any other suggestions about how we could improve the ranking system, I opened up a thread on Reddit. I'm down to listen to comments in my YouTube comments. I'm also reading and watching the Rank and XP thread on the Risk Discord. We have this amazing community. We can connect with each other. Lots of brilliant minds. We might not always agree, but that's okay because we're all going someplace together. And if we can, as Olive says, get the vision coherent, make the ranking system fair, meaningful, that's win-win in my book. So thank you all for watching. If you are interested in getting better at the game of Risk, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. I do Fixed Fridays every Friday. I do this show, the Waiting on Your Best Behavior podcast, on Wednesdays. Every other day I do whatever I feel like. And until next time, for all of you on the path to world domination, good games and good luck.